You know, I've really let my garlic go a little longer than I should have. I should have probably already harvested it, but most of it's just about ready. Some of it's gone just a little too long, but I think it'll be okay. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be harvesting my garlic. I got one bed of garlic harvested, and got a pretty good harvest out of it, if you can see that, hopefully. It's kind of bright out here. It's hard for me to see the screen, see what's in camera and what's not. So let's talk about for a minute when it is time to harvest your garlic. And some of this stuff has really gone past time. Like that is way past time to harvest. You notice all the leaves are dead. Most of these are looking pretty good. I've got most of the bottom leaves dead, but still some green on top. And it's really best to harvest your garlic before all the leaves die. Most of this I've kind of let go just a little bit too far. It'll be okay. It's not that big of a deal. What you end up happening though is if you let all the leaves die, what you'll notice maybe, I don't know if you can see that in camera very well or not, but what happens is this protective covering around your garlic cloves down there starts to die off, and then that can introduce bacteria. They start to rot, and some of those kinds of things. Most of these look like they're going to be fine. There's a couple of them that maybe, I don't know, I may end up having to throw out in the end. They may not dry out very well, but I think for the most part they're fine. It's not that picky. You'll hear different people say, you know, do it when there's a third of the leaves dead. Do it when there's a quarter of the leaves have died. Do it when half of the leaves are dead. It's not that big a deal. Just try to get it before all of them, you know, die off and there's still some green left on them. Now, when you go to harvest your garlic, you don't want to just grab on it and pull it out of the ground. You'll end up pulling the stem off the garlic. So take a shovel or something, a spade, and dig down underneath it. Pop the bulb out, and then you can just pull it out of there. And brush the dirt off. We don't want to wash these off. Just want to get the big clumps of dirt and things off of them. And just brush it off. That'll be fine. We'll let these things cure, and then we'll go. Now, most of this on this bed here is a hard neck garlic, and you can tell because it's stiff. It's a hard neck garlic. It's a little bit different than the stuff that's in the other bed, which is mostly a soft neck garlic. You might be able to see the difference there. It's soft. It's pliable. So it's a little bit different between the two of them. It's not, honestly, not that big of a difference between the way they grow. Just a little bit different between the garlic itself. So again, underneath it, pop it out of the ground. Easier said than done in these corners. There we go, got it. Some of these are some pretty good size bulbs, and I got one or two. You may end up with some. Let's see if I can find it. I got one in here that is nothing but one great big garlic clove. There it is right there. You'll get this sometimes. It's nothing to worry about. This is a huge piece of garlic. It's one clove. It's not, it didn't form individual cloves. It's just one big chunk of garlic. So, I mean, that's okay. It'll work just fine for eating, but I'm not going to save that to replant. As far as the ones I'm going to save, I'm going to go through these. I'm going to find my biggest bulbs like this. Each one of the cloves in this bulb, it will be a new garlic plant. So I'll save a few of these for replanting next year. I'll make sure I have enough to fill out my beds, and the rest of them are going to get cured and dried. And I won't be planting until, I'll go ahead and cure them all. But then I'll select again the biggest, best ones. Those will be the ones that I plant next year. Sorry, I'm pulling some weeds here while I'm talking. And they won't get planted for another couple of months. This is mid-June right now. So I'll plant them out probably in maybe September. Somewhere right around in there as they go into fall. Just enough to get them established before the frost comes. And they can live through the winter time, no problem. They'll make it through the frost. Just try to get them started before the frost hits. Oh, there we go. That's a pretty good garlic clove. Or garlic bulb, I should say. It seems like my hardneck garlic does produce, on average, bigger bulbs than my softneck, but I've been growing this for several years, this hardneck variety, and I've been saving. There's a tiny one, so maybe I'm proving myself wrong already. Two tiny ones right next to each other. But anyway, I've been growing the hardneck garlic for several years, saving the biggest one every year and replanting, so that may be a reason why. That softneck garlic's a little bit new to me. I think this year was the first year I planted it. So over time, I may end up with bigger bulbs in that softneck garlic as well. Now there's a third one in a row that's not very big, so maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this bed harvested out, and then I'll come back and I'll talk to you a little bit about curing your garlic, what you do to cure it. Again, we don't want to wash these off. We want to dry them out. So try to do this before you water on a dry day. Don't introduce any more moisture than you need to. All right, so I got all my garlic harvested. I got a pretty good harvest here. So now I need to work on curing my harvest. Let me set this down. Okay, try that again. Now I need to work on getting the garlic cured, and that means just drying it out. Because if you just, put it in a jar, store it away, whatever, it's too moist. It's gonna mildew. It's gonna rot. It's gonna mold. Something like that. So I want to find a place to store my garlic to cure it that is out of direct sunlight, is fairly warm. 80 degrees, something like that, 90 degrees would be even good, and stays dry. So you could bundle it up and hang it in the rafters of your garage or a shed or something like that. That'd work just fine. Bundle it in loose bundles, 10 or 12 garlic heads to a bundle. Just tie it up loosely and hang it and let it dry that way. You want somewhere with good airflow. I happen to have some wire shelves. Well, they're not really wire shelves. They're rabbit cages, but they work really well for this. So that's where I'm going to be storing my garlic for the next couple of weeks. How long to store it, or how long to cure it, I guess, just kind of depends on your area. If you live in a really arid, moist, humid climate, that's a contradiction, isn't it? If you live in a really arid, dry climate, there we go, then it's probably only going to take a couple of days to a week, something like that, to dry out. And you'll know it's pretty much dry whenever the roots start getting kind of brittle. So right now you can tell they're not really brittle. You'll see. I mean, you can kind of tell, hopefully. If I mess with these a little bit, they're not really brittle. So you can tell they'll start drying, the roots will dry out and they'll look dead and they'll look brittle, and that's about the right time. In a more humid climate like what I live in here, it's probably going to take closer to about 2 weeks. So anyway, that's about it to the curing stage. I mean, I'm just going to set them up on these wire racks, give them some good spacing, and make sure they're not overlaying each other, because that way, again, they get good airflow, good circulation all the way around them. Whoops, that one went down in there, didn't it? And then we'll just wait a couple of weeks and come out and check them. I keep hearing buzzing. I don't know what that is. All right, so I got all my garlic now laid out all across the top of my rabbit cage as a single layer, so they got some good airflow around them. The air can circulate around them. They'll end up drying out. Once they're dry, you can go ahead and store them at that point. As far as storage of garlic goes, you can do it a number of ways. You can braid it if it's soft neck garlic. You've seen those garlic braids probably that are just a bunch of garlic heads. That's a really neat way to store it. You can just hang it on your kitchen cabinet or on the wall in your kitchen or whatever, and you can just snip off a head of garlic whenever you need it. And that'll store for 6 months or so probably, pretty easily. I would not store it in an airtight container at that point. You don't want to can garlic in oil. You'll see a lot of people that'll try to save garlic in oil. It's not good. It could easily cause botulism to grow in there. Botulism is pretty seriously deadly, so you don't want to do that. You could store it anywhere, I think, cool, dry area out of direct light would be best. So, open paper bag in your cabinet, in your, cupboard. If you've got you can hang it in a basement or whatever, however you want to do that. Any of that stuff's just fine. Just keep it out of direct sunlight. Keep it out of moisture and damp. Warm, damp environments, because that'll promote mold growth and those kinds of things. But other than that, it's pretty easy to store. You could just cut the bulbs off and store them in an open jar if you wanted to. Just again, like in your cabinet in your kitchen or something like that, however you want to do that. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I got to get out of the heat. It is getting warm already, standing here in the sunshine. So I'll come back in a couple of weeks when these are cured, and then what I'll do at that point is I'll select out which ones I want to be my next year's planting. I'll save those bulbs out separately, and then the rest of it, the soft neck garlic, I'll probably braid it, and not all in one bundle, but a couple of bundles, and then just hang those on the counter for whenever we want to use them. Hard neck garlic, you can do something similar to braiding it, just kind of tie it together basically to where it's in a bundle that you can just hang on the wall. Makes a neat decoration, and it's right there easy. Just cut a head off whenever you're ready to use it. So anyway, thanks guys for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, God bless.